in my phone.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Rhino.
You disgust me. How can you live with yourself?
Just cool it, Zippy.
You sit on a throne of lies.
I think that's how a lot of Kings fans are feeling right now. You sit on a throne of lies. Hey, you get another bite at the apple tonight. I think this is actually probably your second most important game left in the season besides the last one with Phoenix coming up 10 games from now. Incredible to think the Kings lost 4 in a row. Questions going around. Does the beam still work? Of course it does. Portland rolls into town tonight. Always a tough matchup for the Kings. Most recently, Portland coming off of a loss to the Cavaliers, but they're kind of in this precarious position too. I don't think they expected to be anywhere near the play-in, and yet here they are. Just a couple of games out. The Dallas Mavericks, the Phoenix Suns both share the same number of losses, 38, which puts Phoenix in the 10 seed because of the tiebreaker. Kings, 37 losses, 2 games under 500. Can they bring it back a little bit closer tonight? We will see. We're taking your calls. We are getting all into it. We'll get you ready for the game with Portland. We'll talk about what's going on around the NBA and here in Sacramento. So get involved. Don't let me do all the heavy lifting. I want to hear from you. Call using the link. You can scan the QR code, retweet the show, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. We would greatly appreciate it. We've got coverage all night, as you know. Grant, Jerry, here at the half. Looking forward to that. And post game tonight. Hopefully we can put that beam up that lights up the city. We'll see. Anybody going to the game? How you feeling about the game? We've got some updates on who's in, who's out. A lot of info, a lot of fun stuff coming your way, depending on how you look at it. Tell you about my time in Stockton last night. That was pretty cool as well. So let's get into it. Welcome in. Court is in session on If You Don't Like That.
Late nights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we ride.
My question is that guy, Malik Monk,
Feel good about yourself, Ryan. You're just a part of the King's court.
All of you are part of the King's Court. Thanks for being here. Will Malik Monk be available tonight? He is still up in the air, questionable for the game against the Blazers. Title of the show, Silent Takeover. Are we seeing Keegan Murray saying, you know what? You're not going to feature me. I'm going to feature myself. Loved how he's played in the last few games, and typically he plays pretty darn good against Portland. I believe that's where he had his career high. And looking back at the last game against Oklahoma City, the Kings had their chances. Oklahoma City doesn't usually allow you in that much. They turned them over 7 times in the first quarter, 5 to SGA. Has SGA had 5 all year? You're leading, in my opinion, candidate for the MVP. So great third quarter by the Kings. Got to give them credit for that, but still just inconsistency across the board. One thing that is kind of rising to the top, it's this. The Kings need to move the basketball. The Kings, if you are open, need to take a shot. It looks like too many guys are overthinking things on the floor. So we'll get into that. We'll look at some of the numbers. But as we said, the Kings host the Blazers tonight, closing out the homestand that could be much different than it currently is. I thought the Kings should have been 3-1, the very least, after the first 4 games. Some might say 4-0, but here we are with the Kings looking to make it a 3-4 homestand if they can beat the Blazers, which I think a game, again, second most important, probably coming down the stretch. That Phoenix game at the end of the year, I think, is going to be pretty big. We talked about Malik. He is still up in the air with that illness that is running through the locker room. Devin Carter, however, is available for the Kings. That is all well and good. We talked about Wes Wilcox's departure. That was his formal statement. The Kings put out a 2-sentence statement basically thanking him for his time and wishing him well. But remember, that is the second executive or the second person inside the building to leave while the season is still going on. We were doing our roundtable yesterday, and Jerry Reynolds said he doesn't recall that ever happening. So, and there were chatter, believe it or not, there was chatter. Would Wes Wilcox possibly take over for Monty McNair? And, that's not going to happen, but we're going to get to something else that has been going around as well. A big topic of conversation right now in Sacktown. No doubt about this. Let me know how you feel. We're going to do our roll call here in a few minutes, but do you want to make the play-in? Do you want to make the play-in? Or do you want to keep your draft pick? What would be better? It might not be. I am in the camp firmly. Let me put it this way. I do not want to see the Kings tank. I do not want to see them run out a bunch of two-way players, sit Sabonis, sit their guys. That would not sit well with me. Play the season out. The Kings are one of the few teams in the NBA that don't do the rest management, which you got to respect. So play it out, but with the way the schedule lines up, there is a very good possibility this team does not get to 500 on the season. There's a possibility they may not get to 40 wins on the season. The schedule is tough, so they could easily back into that. Speaking of what's next in cleaning house, Vlade Divac has been around a decent amount. We've seen him sitting next to Vivek. We've seen him actually on a road game or two. What's that mean? Vlade's always kind of had Vivek's ear, obviously the past general manager of this team, but is there anything going on there? Sam Amick talked about it this morning. Let me know your feelings on that. We all know that Vivek seeks attention from people outside the building. Imagine, seriously though, in your job, whatever you do, you're hired to do a job, and your boss is going to somebody outside the company to get advice on what you're hired to do. Little bit different, and many of you not happy with ownership, how things are going. So will there be a change in sight? Are they going to clean house? Who knows? It's time will tell. We will see. As I said, in Stockton last night, a lot of fun. Stockton Kings closed out their home part of the season with a win. Mason Jones went off. Really fun game. I was there till about the end of the third quarter. Got to sit next to some personalities that all of you would know very well. And that was a good time catching up with some of them and watching the game. It was cool seeing Terry Taylor get some minutes. IJ was down there playing as well, Isaiah Crawford. So we can talk about Stockton and where they're headed. They are hoping to be hosting a playoff game sometime in early April. So we'll see. But I got to say, Mace looked wonderful last night. He finished the game with 28 points on the night. So, and by the way, in the press room or the whatever you want to call it, the lounge, chicken strips. You can never go wrong with chicken strips and curly fries. So good job by the Stockton Kings there. Had a good time, fun building, pretty full too. Some people that you recognize, so we can talk about that game as well and where they're headed. And lastly, to start you off with the talking points, back in the news, Adam Silver.
Same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
Something seems so obvious in the NBA, and call him what you want him. It's fair. I get it. If you want to call him Commissioner Ears, if you want to say he's from a different planet,
E.T. home phone.
it's all good. Have your fun. You know, it is what it is. Just don't take it over the line. But he had a press conference today, and some of the very logical issues that we see on a day-to-day basis in the NBA, the style of play, sees no problem with it. Embracing the threes. Well, we got people looking at it. And remember back in the day when it was big, heavy, and the game wasn't necessarily as exciting. So that doesn't seem like it's getting a lot of attention. What about expansion? Seattle, Las Vegas, the two cities most likely to expand. And remember, Adam Silver said that after they got done with the new CBA, the new TV rights deal, expansion would be next on the plate for the NBA. It would be the next thing they're looking at. However, it's now expansion focused into Europe. In fact, Adam Silver, I'm going to paraphrase here, said there's not really any plans right now to expand the league as we know it here in America. And expanding to Europe does not mean putting NBA teams in Europe. What it means is creating, alongside possibly FIBA, a European NBA league. I'm confused, so we can talk about that as well. It just seems so obvious. Give Seattle a team. I get that ownership right now might be a little bit hesitant because it dilutes and your profit sharing, but ultimately it's going to be best for business. And a team is destined for Las Vegas. Just look at how well the Aces do in Vegas right now, the WNBA team. Can you imagine an NBA team there? It'd be bonkers. And it's kind of earmarked, right? A lot of people have it earmarked for LeBron James to be an owner in Vegas. I'm not going to say whether I'm in favor of that, whether I'm against it, but I am in favor of expansion, at least right now in the current NBA. Why start a European NBA when your NBA is broken, Adam? What happens? Can I call you Adam? Commissioner Silver. What happens if you start that European league and the style of basketball is way more entertaining than it is here in America? How's that going to look, Adam? So interesting stuff from him. He is still going to, last time I checked, what are you going to do? Are you thinking about it?
I want to let it marinate a bit.
Okay, you're going to let it marinate a bit still. So I've set the table for you. We will talk about the Kings and the Blazers, get you ready for that as well. Start looking at the stats, looking at who's in, who's out. But first, let's get to our roll call. Who the heck is in the building? Thank you for being here. It doesn't seem like the feed went all the way out to X, so we're a little bit viewer light right now, but that's all right. Retweet the show. Give us a thumbs up. I don't care if there's one of you. I'm here doing this show for you regardless. So Dennis, check it in. Haunted, did you do your mock draft for the Niners? Interesting. Mars, what's up? A name that we know around here. After Kevin Herter murdered the Kings that night, I checked out. I want the pick in the season to be over ASAP so they can fix coaching and front office. See, but then that goes back to the owner. How are they going to handle that? You remember when they went to hire Monty McNair? Didn't the owner take a step back and they brought in an independent panel to handle that because they were worried about him being too hands-on. Well, you heard the stuff that was in Sam Amick's article about Anjali having a lot of say, possibly. Jeremy Lamb allegedly having say, although the article said that his say is no more. But how's that going to work? And I guess it brings up the bigger question about Doug Christie. So many of you say, hey, give Doug Christie a training camp, give him a full season as head coach. My worry is Doug Christie is so close to this owner. In fact, I would say Doug Christie is the conduit from the owner to the bench. So does that fix things? Does that hurt things? Does Doug stay on as an assistant? I don't disagree about keeping Doug on in some capacity, depending on how you work that. If you want Doug to be your head coach and it's unavoidable, maybe that's what it is. It's unavoidable. Whoever comes in here is head coach is going to deal with the same problem. You're going to still have the owner in your ear, okay? But if Doug remains as the head coach, then I would strongly like to see somebody come in like a Terry Stotts, somebody that has a ton of experience, an X's and O's guy that can be the head assistant right there to Doug. Look at Jeff Van Gundy, so good in the booth for so many years with ABC, and then he takes the head assistant role with the Clippers next to Tyronn Lue, who I want to say is making like the most money or some of the most money in the NBA as a coach. So situations like that can happen. And Jeff Van Gundy has done wonders for the defense down in Los Angeles for the Clippers. But a lot of meat on that bone. A lot of meat on that bone. Derek says Vivek's favorite barista has to say. Oh, it's too good. What's up, BG Rhino? What's good, sir? Hope your day's good. What about the Kings? This team fall flat out ridiculous. I'd rather the team shut it down. See, you're not going to shut it down, though, like in a traditional sense. You're going to get fined if you shut it down. And I think most of this fan base, you got to remember, we're all fans, but unfortunately, some fans' opinions matter more. And the ones that matter more are the season ticket holders. You think the season ticket holders are going to take kindly to the Kings shutting it down? I think that played largely into what they did with De'Aaron Fox. Because it's just different, especially if you're a season ticket holder that is in the premium seating or you've got the boxes, you've got a few more luxuries and doorways to some of these guys and these players. I mean, you always see the lady that's sitting courtside right there next to the bench. In fact, when she travels with the team, she is on the Kings bench. They're going to cater to them first and foremost, but I get it. I understand the shut it down mindset. Greg, what's up, dude? Santee checking in. Greg, make sure you support those Aztecs. I know they got bounced early, but thanks for checking in from Santee. Elvire, all the way from South Bend. Elvire, I'm going to come see a Notre Dame game with you. Rudy is my dude. I love the Irish. I grew up on Notre Dame football. Got to come see a game there. Justin, going well. Thank you for asking. In fact, Haunted Horse knows this. In fact, I'm going to blame Haunted Horse for this. I was sitting there, or I wasn't sitting. I was driving like a responsible driver, getting ready to get on I-5 to get to Stockton last night, talking to Horse on the phone, and all of a sudden, boom, right into the side of my rig. Boom. Accident. Everybody was okay. So it could be going a little bit better. The car is still drivable though, but oh my gosh. The haunted horse. See, don't just stay away from that guy. He is toxic. He is absolutely toxic. You guys are talking about football, Mars. We hit that. Dennis, rookie microwave cooked up a good one. Not sure what you're talking about. Adam, what's up, my man? Call Adam Silver anything you want. Just don't call Adam Silver late for dinner. Is that one going over my head? I think that's over my head right now. Don't call him late for dinner. Huh. Interesting. Glad you like the ET drop. There you go. Keep the check-ins coming. I want to make sure that I get to everybody until we Snickers Debini. Okay. No Vlade. Does not want Vlade back. Fair enough. You know, Vlade kind of called the Fox thing. I know that a lot of people are mad that Vlade did not draft Luka. I get it. But he also was spot on about Fox that he ain't that one. He ain't that one. Guerrero says he'll be GM again. I would not be surprised. Keep the pick. Snickers says, I'm with HH. Let's go Portland. What are we doing here? Okay, both of you.
No. You have lost your time to talk.
Game day. Indeed, Flores. Looking forward to it. Anybody going to the game tonight? Anybody hitting this one up? Yes, David. The Kings statement was legitimate. Okay, I want to be accurate here. The Kings statement was at most 3 sentences. I believe it was 2. I'll pull it up here in a few minutes for you. So, anyways, let's talk about this one tonight. Kings and the Trail Blazers. The Blazers have beat the Kings twice already this season. The Kings only with 1 victory against the Blazers. Here's the key. Look, I said it yesterday on our roundtable with Grant and Jerry. I stayed up all night. I mean, I dug deep into the numbers in the analytics. And you know what it spit out? Here's what it spit out. In the 2 wins by the Blazers, they're shooting the 3 ball at 35.1%. 35.1%. In the loss, when the Kings won, they only shot it at 18.2%. More interesting than the percentages. The 2 wins, they averaged 38.5 threes in their 2 wins. In the 1 loss, only 22 threes. Key to the game. Run the Blazers off the line. It's what you got to do. Do you remember when the Kings just let Dinwiddie start getting hot in Portland a couple of games ago? Made no sense. They were in the drop when there was no reason to be in the drop. But I will say this. Portland is ahead of schedule with their rebuild. They are way ahead of schedule. I think in part because Donovan Clingan was a guy that they wanted. They had circled him well before his last college season had started. And somehow, some way, quote, Mike Brown, he found himself in Portland. He fell in the draft and Portland got him. So he has been in and out of the lineup for them. Here is what Portland did in their last game against Cleveland, which I think is important. They only lost by 11 points. Cleveland's had a rough road trip, by the way, here on the West Coast. But here is the difference maker for you. Denny Advia. He is so crucial to what Portland does. Do not take that guy lightly. He is a silent assassin. This guy can ball out. He can shoot the 3 at a high clip and is just one of those guys that surprises you. He's like a bogey. He doesn't look over athletic, but he can shoot the heck out of the ball and really important to what they do. He has not always had big games against the Kings. In fact, I think he was out one of the games against the Kings. So that is what Portland did. As for tonight, again, getting back to, we'll update this for you right now. Who is in, who is out? As of right now for Portland, game time decisions for a lot of guys. You got Kamara, who is very important to what they do. Jeremy Grant, game time decision. City, Siasko, game time decision. And DeAndre Ayton already out on that one. Malik Monk, still questionable for the Kings. Devin Carter is available. Some weird stuff going on with the Kings, no doubt about it. Rotationally, some very weird stuff. When you look at what the Kings did in the first half with the rotation, Doug Christie went 10 deep against the Thunder in the first half. In fact, at one point, you had Doug McDermott, Zach LaVine, Jake LaRavia, Markelle Fultz, and Devin Carter on the floor together in the first half. That was an interesting one to me. That one did not make a lot of sense to me. He tightened it up in the second half. In fact, Jake LaRavia was the only guy to play in the third quarter, the big third quarter, where the Kings ended up coming back. But still, they had opportunities within the comeback to come back even further, and they just weren't able to take advantage of it. Doug Christie had a lot to say after the game. Here's what Coach Christie had to say.
I told them, right before we went on the court, out on the court in the second half, I said that's the team that you're going to face in the playoffs, and at some point you're going to have to make a stand. And to our guys' credit, they did. If you guys know me, I'm not the moral victory guy, but there is a good team in our locker room, and they're trying to find their way, and they're trying to find their rhythm. And they continue to fight, and I appreciate that. It doesn't feel good right now, but once they get that rhythm, watch out. We're good? Oh.
Yeah, Doug, you got the 48 threes you're looking for tonight, 23 makes. Keegan just looked like he was a player from a couple of years ago. How important is it in this last stretch of games, his last 11, to get him rolling and to make sure that that's the player he goes into the offseason as?
When I communicate with Keegan, whether it's verbally or through text or whatever, I tell him how important he is to us, how much I respect and appreciate what he does, because I've done what you do, and it's not easy. So I'm when he's smiling and engaged the way that I know that he can be, I'm super, super excited for him. This is going to be an important off season for him once that time comes, to grow and to continue to evolve. But I think he's in a good place, and I try to make sure he understands how important he is.
Doug, you talked before the game about the vibes question. Does the response you got in the second half to what you said to them at halftime kind of reinforce the message that you were trying to convey there?
Yeah. I've told you guys 80% isn't enough. We're a 90% plus team because the margin of error is just so thin. And I think that what our guys have to understand is the consistency at which you approach something is everything for us. That means effort. That means attention to detail. That means extra efforts, possession game, trying to create extra possessions, whether that be steals, whether that be offensive rebounds, whatever it is. And when you look across from you, that team does that. If you mess up, they take full advantage of it every single time. And we're going to get there. because we keep demonstrating that we can. Now,
Dennis, I believe Terry Stotts is an assistant right now. I don't recall the team. He is an assistant somewhere, though. I will let you know that in a second. BG, excited for WrestleMania Season 2, brother.
are you willing to go through the pain that it takes to do it? That's really what it's all about. Because I'll tell you guys, like you guys have been around basketball, NBA, it's painful as hell. And that's why not everybody does it. Because if it was easy, everybody would do it. But it's not easy. And sometimes you don't feel good. There's a lot of different things that go into it. And that's why I addressed the whole point, because when I talk to them, your spirit got to be right. Get your spirit right. Because you come in here with the wrong spirit, you will get the hell beat out of you. And it almost happened. And then all of a sudden they said, no, we ain't dropping the rope. We about to get at it. And when they did, we saw the result. And that's the team that's in the locker room. Unfortunately, it's not the team that continues to show itself for 48 minutes. And I know that's hard. But we're not accepting anything less. So there will be a time. And when that time comes, you'll feel it.
Sorry, muted. My bad. My bad. I said there ain't much time left for them to find that. You've got 10 games left on the schedule, which includes an East Coast road trip, which begins one day after tonight's game. The Kings have to travel all the way across the country and play on the 29th in Orlando, a team that does not match up very well. The Kings do not match up very well with them. So I and we talked about this yesterday with Jerry and Grant. It was really odd that Zach LaVine came out and said the vibe is off in the locker room. And I'm paraphrasing. And before last game, Doug Christie's pregame press conference, he addressed it immediately. In fact, it didn't even take a question from the media for him to address it. And you couple that, you parlay that with also the fact that Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis, after the Bulls game, came out and said, we're going away from the things that are working. So what is it? Is it these guys are on the same page, or these guys are just kind of following the flow, following the leaders, following the guys that have the most experience? Because I can tell you, and I think it's pretty obvious to most Kings fans, it doesn't look like, outside of timeouts in the start of the game and usually the start of the third quarter, that there are a lot of plays being drawn up and a lot of X's and O's going on. I have not talked to anybody in the building about that or anybody around the team. That is pure speculation on my behalf by watching the team and having watched not just all their games, but all their games twice, in some cases 3 times. It seems that the best version of the Kings is when they get into transition. It's when they cause a little bit of chaos, when they get downhill. And in fact, when you look at when plays are drawn up, they are drawn up to get guys going downhill. So if I'm a Keegan Murray, if I'm a Keon Ellis, I'm going to be a little frustrated. I'm trying to get myself going. I'm trying to get cooking, because by the numbers, those guys are big contributors. And those are 2 guys whose offensive games, whether it's going or not, it never, ever affects what they do defensively. Now, Keon didn't really have it going great last game from the offensive standpoint, but Keegan Murray, over the last 4 or 5 games, there's been a dramatic change and just his swag, the way that he is being more aggressive, the way that he is being more intentional. You can tell he wants the ball. And Keegan even said it after the game. We'll hear it here in a few minutes. He wants more plays where he's coming off of transition and getting threes. He wants more looks like that. And I just don't see any way this Kings team has a good vibe. They're connected when you look at the record over the past 10 games, when you look at the numbers over the past 10 games. In fact, my man, Brendan Nunez, check out these numbers that Brendan put up. They're spot on. Look at this. Over the last 10 games, look at those numbers. Not good. Look at the only other teams. Excuse me, that's not Brendan's. Let me get Brendan's. Brendan's is really good. Did I put Brendan's in here? Here it is. Here's Brendan's. Look at these numbers. 24th, 28th, 28th. Look at the other teams over the last 10 games that have a negative 10 net rating or more. Utah, New Orleans, Sacramento, Charlotte, and Philadelphia. So if I'm a Kings player and I'm a Keegan Murray, I'm a Keon Ellis who's not on the floor at the end of the game for the Bulls, I'm probably pushing back right now. So I get that Doug wants to control the narrative. I get that Doug is one of those guys where it's got to be right. Karma's got to be there. You all got to be on the same page. But I don't think there's enough coming from that side of the team, the coaching side of the team. I don't think they're doing them any favors to get them on the same page. How many times after games have we heard Doug Christie talk about, well, we went to ISO too much. You know, we can't be selfish in those moments. We got to remind ourselves to keep going to what works. Well, you know what you do then? You call a timeout. You take a guy out. That's what you do. So if the Kings are able to back in to the play-in, it's a big question. Are they going to be able to win too? I don't know that they are. I don't. So credit to Brendan for pulling those numbers up. Let's go back to the chat. As we said tonight, Kings Blazers coming at you from the G1C. This is the fourth to last game at home. You've got 3 games at home to end the season. But before those 3, you go on an East Coast road trip that begins with Orlando on the 29th. Here's some history of the Kings and the Blazers as we look at some more of your comments. Again, get up here, call the show. I mean, I can do 2 hours of content, no problem, but get in here. I'd love to get some calls, get your take on some of this stuff. I see PK has made his way to the chat. Very good. Yes, I know I was muted. I got it fixed. Rhino, what about Mark Jackson? Not a big fan of Mark Jackson. That's just me personally. But I know a lot of you are. The reason that, thank you, Tristan. I was going to say, I know he's a lead assistant somewhere. I see him all the time. The reason that I am not a big fan of Mark Jackson, well, one, if you're a Vivek guy, like automatically, that kind of worries me. That those have not had traditionally good track records. But his time in Golden State, and I mean no offense by this, when I bring it up, but it needs to, I don't think you can address Mark's coaching performance appropriately without addressing it. is he had focuses in other areas of life. And I'm not saying that those focuses are not as important, if not more important than basketball, but I think his attention, his time was being divided into different areas. And I think the Warriors would have liked to have him around a little bit more than he was. Maybe he wasn't around as much as you would normally be around as a head coach. So maybe that's changed since he's not doing the broadcasting. I don't know, but the Vivek thing worries me a little bit as we continue looking at the numbers. These were the games earlier this season between these two teams. Flores, what's Doug talking about? Doug will not get out there this year. Only 10 games left. I need Doug to do more just as a coach. There's too many times, and maybe it's just bad circumstances with when the camera's on him. But when Mike Brown, like if there's a bad call, right, or something that Mike didn't like at least he was doing something about it. There was some animation. He was pacing. So many times the camera just catches Doug blank-faced at crucial moments, like challenge moments. Should we challenge or not? Or, certain plays that maybe there should have been a foul and there wasn't. And you would expect the head coach to be all over a ref. I don't think Doug has gotten a technical since taking over. I don't remember one. Correct me if I'm wrong. And yet you're asking your players to let you handle the refs. You don't want them getting teas and chirping, which I respect that part of it. The Kings were doing way too much chirping before, but Doug's got to do a little bit more for me. And it sounds like I'm being critical of the guy. Doug did not ask to be the head coach of this team, number one. That was not in the cards when he started the season, or at least we don't believe it to be in the cards. But number two, to take over a team that had that much turnover, this is like what's going on in Sacktown right now is so high level in terms of trying to find ways to make the parts work. I thought Greg Anthony, who did the Thunder game, had one of the best explanations and quotes about the gaping hole that's been on this Kings team. And it was first about them not having a true point guard and a distributor. But then it was, and I'm going to paraphrase here, unless I can find where I wrote the direct quote down. Here it is. The direct quote from Greg Anthony was, "Your best player isn't a primary scorer." And he followed up with that by saying, because your best player in Domantas Sabonis is not a primary scorer, he is not the center of attention for defenses. He's not drawing the attention that an Anthony Edwards gets, the attention that any of those other number ones get, which makes it by default harder on your role guys. And I get these are 1%ers, best players in the world in the NBA, and you should be able to create your own shot in most circumstances. But I think a lot of the guys they're still in their growing phases. Keon Ellis, Keegan Murray. You can't tell me, and if you're judging Keegan Murray on makes and misses when he is trying to create his own shot, you're judging it wrong, in my opinion. The way you should be judging it is how much separation is he getting, and also is he consistently getting to a spot that he wants to get. And what I've seen from him this year, he consistently does create separation, and he consistently does get to that spot, which is usually right around the elbow extended with a fadeaway. So that is growth to me for a third-year player. Keon, who wasn't even drafted, he's still finding his way in terms of playmaking. So when those guys are in that process and you don't have, or you're getting a little bit more attention because you don't have that player on the floor that demands almost everybody's attention from the opponent, that makes it really tough. Let's go to the phones really quick. As I said, get up in here. Would love to hear from you. You can talk about anything that you want as we lead up to the Kings and the Blazers. Alex, my man, what's going on today?
What's going on right now? How you doing?
Doing great, brother.
Good. The Kings stuff is pretty interesting right now. Like it's kind of funny. They're a little more interesting than the games going on themselves, just because we've been losing and stuff like that. Now I'm gonna make a prediction, and it's not gonna be popular, and I'm also not saying that's what's gonna happen or that's what I want to happen. But I honestly think they're gonna keep Monty. I think they're gonna extend Doug to a 2-3 year whatever for head coach, and then they're gonna hire Vivek. They're gonna hire Divock as a assistant GM like Wes was, or some made up name like, I don't know, assistant to basketball operations, something like that.
I believe Vlade has some type of role with the team right now. I don't remember exactly what it is, and don't quote me, but
yeah,
somehow I believe some type of advisor. I'll find out. I'll ask Grant because Grant's really close with Vlade.
Okay, and even with that, I think the Kings are still going to announce it and make it a little more, I don't know, prominable, I guess. Like I said, maybe a whatever he is right now, as you're telling me, I don't know what he is either. They're just going to give him some kind of, I guess, advancement. And I don't know. I think eventually he's going to be our GM again, which I don't even know what to think about. Like, if that happened, what would your reaction be if he became our GM again? Like, you personally?
I haven't given it a ton of thought. I don't hate it. Because I think he is effectively. I don't think Vlade is a yes man. I think that he is effectively able to tell Vivek no, and so from that aspect, I'm okay with it. And to be quite honest, Vlade, outside of not drafting Luka, what was so bad about Vlade's time here that sticks out to everybody in the chat and everybody here? And to be honest, Vlade was right about Fox. He did not believe he understood. And I think that this is what fans, or sometimes we forget. Luka was a different dude. So if you drafted Luka, you were not going to have De'Aaron Fox here. Fox was going to have to go, and you were going to have to change the entire team to be built around Luka Doncic. That's just the reality of the situation. I think what Vlade, and he's on the record basically, is saying is that he thought the upside with Fox and the style of play that the NBA was going towards was more conducive, but he still understood that Fox probably was not yet that guy that would lead you to a championship as a number one. But back to my point, what was it about Vlade's time that you didn't like?
So the main thing that sticks out to me, now before I answer that, I think Vivek and a lot of our fan base, even myself at times, were infatuated with the early 2000s. The Jason Williams, Mike Bibby, Divock, Weber era, because that was our only form of Sacramento success since Sacramento's been a thing. But to answer your question, the thing that sticks out to me is when the DeMarcus Cousins trade happened, and he said, "Oh, we had a better trade a week ago," or something like that. Okay. That drove me crazy. I was like, well, why did you even tell us that? You know what I mean? Sure. And I know English isn't his first language, and maybe context wasn't exactly whatever, but that drove me crazy. And again, to your point, I mean, besides the Lucas stuff, besides the DeMarcus thing that I brought up, I mean, I'm sure he'll be fine, especially if he's already been in Vivek's ear this past whatever 5, 6, 7+ years. Maybe he's already been making decisions. I don't know. Some of them good, some of them bad. Maybe he's been scouting. Again, I have no idea. You'll know way more than I will because I'm not connected to the team at all. But I do think he will be a prominent person in the organization if he isn't already.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I do want to point out, I said it last time, I'm not super doom and gloom about the organization. I don't, maybe tanking would be the best thing to do for this team. But I think a lot of people, what they don't understand, maybe even us Kings fans, is we're not a regular, we're kind of a weird team because we're not super rich like the Lakers, like, and for whatever big market team, the Knicks, that can go 100+ million over the cap and be fine and not even think about it. We have to like penny pinch and watch. But also, we're not the Pelicans where we can sell tickets for $6 and it not be a big deal. You know what I mean? So we're like a weird team where we're not super rich, but we're not to the point where we can't carry enough because we have stakeholders. We do sell out a lot. So we have to, it almost seems like it's inevitable we're going to keep putting on this semi-mediocre product because we kind of have to, but we're not rich enough to go way over the cap. So I don't see this changing a whole lot next year as far as blowing it up. I don't think it's going to happen at all, just because of what I just mentioned right now.
Well, Zach LaVine, you're stuck with him. That's the problem, and that's what I asked Jerry yesterday. I said, "Do you think making that Fox trade at the deadline was Monty McNair's Hail Mary?" Because that decision to bring Zach in was the first time, and it went against everything that has been traditional Monty McNair, which is don't bring a bad contract on, keep things liquid for the most part, to where you can switch things around, you can swerve, you can zig, you can zag. And with that, you just can't. What you're doing is you are betting that Zach LaVine's going to play up to that contract and stay on the court, and it becomes an asset instead of a liability. And as we sit today, it's a complete liability.
For now, yes. Although, again, my biasness being a big Zach LaVine fan from the UCLA days, I still think he can be good as soon as we get rid of DeMar DeRozan. And again, I'm not saying DeMar is bad. I think he's a great player. He's going to be future Hall of Famer, all that. But man, I feel like, and I mean, Zach chucks up shots too. He takes that step back he does. I'm not a fan of that shot that Zach does. It kind of defeats the purpose of setting screens and doing all that stuff. But with DeMar, I mean, it slows it down so much. And when he's not making every mid-range or whatever they call it, midi shot, it just feels like it kills the offense. And then of course, he don't play any defense too. So and Zach did look pretty good without DeMar this past year. Even that one Chicago game we played when we still had Fox and Zach was still on the Bulls, he looked like the best player on the court by far. And again, it wasn't with DeMar on his team. We still had Fox, we had Sabonis, all that, but he was killing us. I think we still won that game, but it's just different circumstances. If we can do the whole, keep Keegan, Laravia, maybe we'll see. What's his name, Carter, and then have a Zach LaVine bring in another wing. I think it could work. But yeah, the whole DeMar Zach thing, I mean, I guess it's been there, done that. I'm not really a big fan of them together. And since you said we're stuck with Zach, right? People are down on him right now. I still have hope in him. I think he'll do a lot better with DeMar off the team. He's more athletic. We'll just see. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing that I think about is basketball IQ. Zach's basketball IQ. Well, okay, let me ask you this. You said you followed his career. Certainly, it sounds like more closer than I have.
Yeah.
Has his IQ always been decision-making with the basketball as bad as it's been here in Sacramento?
So Zach's thing is he relied heavily on his athleticism, and he still does, I feel like. But even back then, it just relied super heavy on how freakishly athletic he was for sure. Even back then, just could dunk barely even trying. You know what I mean? Yeah, the decision making hasn't always been great, and I think the thing is he evolved with the 3-point shooting, which is right now he could shoot way better than he used to in college and with the Timberwolves. But again, the IQ hasn't necessarily increased. I think he still just heavily relies on his athleticism, which kind of plagued him too coming out of college and all that. Because he is anybody that sees him, he'll show glimpses to this time where he'll do a crazy, just up and over dunk, or just has this crazy burst of speed, and it's like, oh, why don't you always do that? You're always aggressive. I mean, just if you're gonna do that, just do it. You know what I mean? Not this kind of like stand back or this weird step back. I mean, Keegan's being more aggressive than Zach right now. And again, I'm a big Zach LaVine fan, but I don't know exactly what's going on right now. It seems like he doesn't want to be the 1A of the group, or I just have no idea. I have no idea.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Yeah, I mean this with all due respect, and I understand that Zach's going through, or he missed a game due to personal stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm not just speaking to the sample size of the last 5 games, 6 games. I'm speaking to his entire time here in Sacramento. Has he always been as laissez-faire as he is? Like, it doesn't seem like the effort, the push is always there. Is that always been a thing, or does he look like he's kind of just going with the flow here?
So
like
I will say, yes, yeah. I will say he does look a lot less aggressive with the Kings. I don't know if that's just trying to be a fit-in type thing. Before, I mean, even now, I still think it. You haven't seen it, of course, but I kind of saw Zach LaVine as a dog. He would kind of just be aggressive and dunk in your face and bark and talk crap and that kind of stuff. And you haven't really seen that with the Kings. And I wonder if it's because he is still trying to find his footing. Maybe whatever you said, something, it's been reported something went on, and it's affecting him. Maybe it's not. Maybe it'll be better with DeMar off the team. Again, I have no idea. But yeah, to answer your question, yeah, he doesn't seem as aggressive so far with the Kings. He's never been a great defender. Let's just be honest about it, right? Like he's never been a top whatever defender. Just is what it is again. And it goes back to my first point. He's always heavily relied on his athleticism. And unfortunately, he's going to turn 31 next year. It's going to fade eventually. I don't think every player is going to be like Westbrook, who can still just, burst out of his feet and, do what he's doing right now. I commend Westbrook. He's doing great right now with the Nuggets. But yeah, I'd like to see Zach be more aggressive. I'd like to see him take a bunch more shots. I'd like to not see the step back shot, although he's always done that. But this team does operate better when the ball's moving around. But again, to I guess top it off, I think he'll be better when DeMar's off the team, and if we get a couple more wings, we'll see. Again, we're just working with what we got. I'm basing it off of he's staying here for sure. Sabonis is probably staying for sure, because even if he asks for a trade, he still has 3 years left on his contract. Why would the Kings do it? And who's going to want, Sabonis at that price tag, with him being good at certain areas, not being a shot blocker? So I'm just saying everything I'm saying based off what I'm pretty sure what we're going to have next season.
For sure. Alex, appreciate you, brother. Anything wrestling to contribute really quick?
I'm loving it, man. I don't know about you, but I'm loving it. I've been wanting to see, Cena do this laissez-faire heel thing for a long time. It's kind of, some of it's kind of silly, but I'm enjoying every second of it. Looking forward to Mania. Do you have any predictions? Who wins? Why at Mania between him and Cody?
Cody, for sure.
Cody, 100%.
Yeah, I think Cody wins.
I really liked. Now, shout out to Adam. I think he has a really good wrestling mind. I really liked his idea of a double turn thing going on, because you can have a lot of fun with this. Cena's never turned heel. Cody's been in that same spot he's been for what 2 years now or 3 years, I guess, the main event of WrestleMania. So you can have a lot of fun with this. You can do all kinds of things, and I'm sure they're still thinking about what to do with it. But I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm just here for the ride. I'm enjoying it, and I'm sure everybody else is too.
Appreciate it. All right, Alex, be well. Thanks for calling. Good stuff. Okay, there is a lot to talk about from Alex's call about what's left on this roster, a rebuild, the fans, the GM. We're going to go through all that in a second because I got thoughts on all of it, and I see some really good comments also in the chat. The one thing that I will say is as it goes for Monty McNair, I think it's going to be...
If you're getting ready for work right now, then you're probably not done.
Monty McNair after the season. I think that he is probably... if you read the tea leaves... And Monty did great at the trade deadline, by the way, but with all these reports that Wes was really the one doing the day-to-day stuff, but things ultimately have to be signed off by not only Monty, but the owner. I still don't think it's enough to keep his job. And who even says that Monty wants to keep his job? I have not heard anything. I have not heard that from anybody or asked that question. But if you're Monty McNair, your owner hung you out to dry this season. Hung you out to dry. So it's an interesting conversation. We'll talk about all that stuff in a second. Mike, where'd you go, brother? I was going to bring you up. All right, well, I'll keep talking then. All right, Mike, call back. We'll get you on the show. To Alex's point about Zach, this was something that I pointed out last game. There were two different opportunities. Doug Christie has said, Zach, I want you to take 10 or more threes a game. 10 or more threes. There were two different opportunities last game. This one happened during the third quarter where the Kings were going on the run. I'm sorry. This is Zach freaking LaVine. Isn't this the 3-point line? Isn't this like what Zach LaVine is known for? What do you think Zach did with that? He didn't shoot it. He dribbled in to Isaiah Joe, which then ended up getting called a foul, and then it got overturned because it was challenged. That's I don't know a Zach LaVine that passes that shot up. And there was a similar circumstance in the first half where Zach had a wide open three, nobody around him, and he dribbled into a double team and turned it over. And so those head scratchers, I can live with those like once every couple games from a guy that's at Zach LaVine's pay scale and level, being an all-star. But this is stuff that's happening like, what, 2-3 times a game? Like, coach him up, coach. You got to coach him up. All right, let's go back to the phones. Tay, what's up today?
Hey, Rhino, how you doing?
Doing great. How are you, Tay?
I'm good. Thanks for taking my call.
Of course.
So I think we all know that this team lacks a true point guard. The question I want to ask is, and ask for your opinion, when Monty drafted Devin Carter and Davion Mitchell, do you think he drafted those 2 point guards knowing that this team is lacking a point guard and hoping that those two or would pan out to be true point guards? Or I guess, do you think he was aware of that hole and did he at least try to address that by drafting those two?
Tay, it is the biggest unanswered, unasked question about this entire 3-year Kings run. They have not had a single true point guard that could be in the rotation, that could legitimately contribute on this team. And I would argue to the other side, Tay, that there's more evidence that points to Monty McNair wanting to draft guards that aren't quite point guards and aren't quite shooting guards, but are right in the middle. Because I think the fatal flaw, the fatal mistake that this team or this front office, this ownership, with their judgment of this team, is they looked at Sabonis as the point guard.
I see.
Which is fine and good once in a while. It's a nice switch up. 82 games a year? No. Sabonis ain't your point guard. And so the fact that it has not been adequately addressed, and like Jordan, no offense to Jordan McLaughlin, but when he got brought in from Minnesota, yes, he's more of a true point guard, but he's an end of the bench guy. The truest point guard this Kings team has had is Matthew Dellavedova. So I don't know. I think that has been the biggest, besides the inactivity. I think it's the drafting of those two guys that you're talking about, because if you watch their college film, neither of them were true point guards. Neither. And so then that's even a bigger problem if you thought that those guys were true point guards. But that's up there. Re-signing Sabonis the year after the Beam team, I think that's up there as a mistake. Obviously, Bogey walking away for nothing, and then inactivity at the trade deadlines in the West. So I don't know, man. I just it's so confusing that, especially with a
Yeah.
Dalton Connect on
Yeah,
the
and he
board.
also drafted Halliburton, which arguably he is a
Same
true
th-
point.
Is
Arguably, he's
he?
a point. Arguably, I'm not sure. I think he's more of a hybrid.
Right.
Again, but I think that's another closest one you had. But you shipped them away thinking that Sabonis can be your Jokic. Um, so I know this will never happen, but theoretically, I tried this trade in the work. And what do you think about? Again, I don't think it's gonna happen. What do you think about Sabonis to New York Knicks for Josh Hart and Mitchell Robinson? Contract wise, it works out. New York gets a all NBA center in exchange for Josh Hart, who is about 30 or 31, and Mitchell Robinson, who hasn't really worked out that well in New York, and we get those two back. I think it will be great for those two teams. Again, I don't think those two teams are even entertaining that thought. But what do you think about the
I
theoretical
don't know why New
situation?
York would do that, because you know why? Because Cat plays so much on the perimeter, and I know that Cat's made a little bit more of a transition inside. Well, I guess maybe that is the exact argument that they would do it, but Sabonis will be down low.
I really like Josh Hart. I just think
Oh, I
he's
love Josh
solid.
Hart.
Yeah, he could rebound very well. He could set up the offense. He doesn't play erratic like Monk, so I think he will be a great fit for this team. But to your point, I don't know if New York is willing to part ways with the Villanova crew. So,
Yeah, look,
but that's
Josh
what I
Hart.
would like to see. I would like to see them flip Sabonis for a solid point guard. Um, if they were to, rebuild. So
Here's the problem with flipping Sabonis. Grant and I have kind of disagreed on this. I know that there's some national personalities that side with me on this. It's Sabonis's contract. Let me pull it up for everybody really quick. We can look at the Kings payroll together. It's going to be on the left side of your screen. With Sabonis's contract, which isn't unreasonable considering inflation and how the cap's going to go up, but the CBA, that's the big obstacle. That
I see.
contract is not bad if he's your free agent and you sign him to it, because then it doesn't go against, you're not paying luxury tax on it. It doesn't technically go against the cap. So I just think he is not a plug and play guy. I think that you have to, much like a Luka Doncic, you have to have a specific style of play that you already play or you want to play and build around a guy like Sabonis, which like means maybe a third of the NBA, I think, would be interested in Sabonis at that number, maybe a third. But then there's the other side of that too, is if you're bringing him in at that number and that's going against your cap, that means he is one of your two big numbers, unless you're a team that's like Oklahoma City that's been able to draft really well, develop, re-sign, and keep them there. I just don't think you can get full market value for him. I think you're going to take a haircut. I think Fox was your chance to get the right value, maybe even a little extra value.
Yeah.
And
I
you missed
mean,
it.
I really wish we got at least Trey Jones through the Fox trade. Trey Jones from the Spurs. I don't think Bulls really needed him, but that's just my opinion. So
Yep. No, I hear. I look. The bottom line is you didn't have to trade De'Aaron Fox.
yep,
You didn't.
until the summer.
Jerry Reynolds, when this all started, he said, wait until before the draft. That's when teams that's when teams have now got through their full 82. That's maybe when a team gets bounced early from the playoffs. That's when a team maybe overachieves in the playoffs and they think we're one player away. And, we have a high draft pick and we'd rather get a solid veteran guy that might take us over the top. That's where I think would have been the best time, and I'm with Jerry on that, because it seems like, and this is where regardless of how this trade plays out, because we can't fully judge it for at least until the next trade deadline plays out, but I think that the one thing that Kings fans are going to take away from this is that it feels like ownership thought more of taking care of the player rather than taking care of his fan base and his team by putting him in San Antonio. I mean, what you got from San Antonio, you knew was going to convey into second round picks. It's just kind of, and I get picks are valuable now with the CBA, but man, that's a tough pill to swallow. That really is, because if De'Aaron would have been a distraction, which I don't think he would have been once the deadline ended, then you just send him off for surgery and you play without
Exactly.
him. The Kings played great basketball without De'Aaron Fox.
Yep, they went on that 7-game winning streak without Fox for some of those games. And I think the initial reaction from the entire Kings base when we got Zach LaVine and couple picks, we weren't that excited. I mean, Zach LaVine is no scrub. He's a great player, but honestly, he ain't no De'Aaron Fox. And more importantly, he doesn't really fit this team playing with alongside DeMar. So I think it was a knee-jerk reaction, and right now we're reaping the fruits of it in a negative way. But to your point too, I do want to see one more season of Zach LaVine, hopefully without DeMar DeRozan, because I don't think DeRozan's gonna be on this team next year. So yeah. All right. Thanks, Rhino.
Appreciate you, Tay. Good job. Look, I think DeMar DeRozan deserves better than being on this team next year. I'm sorry if you don't like that comment, but where this franchise is headed was not what DeMar DeRozan was sold. And let me point out a couple other things. Do you remember Willie Cauley-Stein talking about, oh, well, they didn't play me because they were trying to drive my value down? We've heard some of that stuff. I'm not saying that's in play here, and I'm not conspiracy theory guy. I don't have a tinfoil hat on right now, but it's eerie and weird how Keon Ellis is next year going into his contract year only making 2 point, I believe, what's it say on the screen? 2.3 or 2.8. Where's Keon at? He's more towards the bottom. Keon, where you at, my man? Looking. There it is, $2.3 million. And so it's bizarre in a game like the Bulls game when Keon had 19 points in the first half. The dude ain't on the floor at the end of the game. He only got 3 shots in the second half. Mike,
I don't know.
Thanks for coming back. How you doing today?
I'm on in a minute. Oh yeah, hello.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Doing well. Thanks for taking the time to call.
Yeah. So I have a question on the point guard situation. Basically, De'Aaron Fox. You know, if people realize before the trade and the All-Star break, he complained about his finger being busted. A lot of fans were like, "Get him off the court. He's not playing well." But he goes to San Antonio, plays pretty well, and then his finger bothers him again, and he's out for the season. It just kind of like, why didn't the Kings just sit him down if they knew that his finger was going to hinder his play?
If Wemby was not out for the season, De'Aaron would not be out for the season.
Okay. My other question, back to the point guard, is Scoot Henderson, I think that's his name, the Blazers pick that they got. Yeah. They got a point guard. It's going to be interesting how he plays tonight because, of course, we can put Keon Ellis on him, but Kobe White was kind of like quick, going around the defense, running the offense, right? And that's why we lost. If Scoot is able to do that, I know he's a rookie, that could be big trouble for the Kings if he plays well.
It very well could be. I think Kobe is a level above Scoot easily. But Scoot has had some really good games for the Blazers, and the Kings this season have given him some good looks in past games. So the one that scares the hell out of me tonight is the wild card always. And if Haunted Horse is still here, he can chime in on it, is Anthony Simons. That guy can be ice cold or red hot. And when that guy's red hot, watch the heck out. So that guy worries me, but you're right. You got to guard Scoot because he is a big reason why the Blazers are ahead of schedule. He's definitely taken a jump this year.
Yeah. Also, if the Kings, I know I listened to the show and I believe you said in June, De'Aaron called his shot. As far as like, maybe we want to see what the team does if I sign my contract. And then the Kings went out and they got a free agent point guard and they drafted a point guard. And the free agent, he never really played. And I'm just curious, like the Kings, like everybody, all the fans knew we needed a point guard. Like it was just obvious. I think Monty should have known that. Heck, even Vivek should have known, hey, make sure we get a point guard back when this trade goes through. And I felt like, not that, what's his name, McCollum, or no, McLaughlin. It's McLaughlin. Not that he was going to be a game changer, but I think it would have helped if we had a point guard who started the year with us, went through training camp. I felt it would have been a bonus for us. But we let him go and De'Aaron Fox go. So with that being said, I do think Keon is doing good as far as a point guard.
I agree with you. It's a great point.
Nobody on the Kings, and I listened to the show, has ever been a point guard that I'm aware of, even in college. And when I first called the show and I said, hey, man, we need a point guard, the fans are going to – I was tripping out. But Grant said, Monk's going to run the show. Well, I had confidence in that. And I just think that Monk is trying to do too much, and he's never been in that role. What do you think?
I thought that, and I was a big proponent of that because it changed the Kings offense. It went away from the dribble handoffs or the DHOs, as we call them, and it went more towards the pick and roll. which is the best way to use Sabonis, and in my opinion, the best way to use Malik Monk. And we saw the Kings start to go more to that. And then as soon as De'Aaron Fox got traded, they went away from the pick and roll, like inexplicably. They went away from the pick and roll. And then you had time where Monk was hurt. You had time where Sabonis was hurt. You don't get the best Malik Monk without Domantas Sabonis on the floor. And yes, to your point, more was asked of Malik, and also the scouting report changes. He is now the guy that you are keying in on a little bit more. Now, I think there's things Malik has done that have kind of affected his play, like coming off when they do the pick and roll. Ooh, I just said do. Somebody pick up on that, I guess. But when they do the pick and roll, Malik, there's this thing called the snake dribble. The idea of the snake dribble is kind of the deceleration stuff that you see going on all the time in the NBA. But it's the idea of trying to get the defender on your back so you can also pick up a foul when you go up for the shot. And the snake dribble is like slipping a screen. It's like one of those things that you should do maybe 1 out of 5 times, 1 out of 10 times. And it became like the go-to for Malik for a good 5-6 games. So stuff like that hasn't helped. He's done better, or when he has played better, he's gone directly to his spots from the pick and roll. But I don't think the Kings and the coaching staff are utilizing the personnel properly across the board.
All right. So one last thing before I let you go real quick. A lot of fans are waiting for a game for Levine to break out. And he had that one big game at home.
Yep.
And we all thought, well, we had De'Aaron who casted threes all the time, and he wasn't that good at it. If he was on, he was on. But it was super rare that De'Aaron was on for 3-point range. Hopefully tonight is one of those nights, because I don't know if Portland wants to catch us and get that 10th seed, or do they want to tank and just finish out the year. I'm just hoping as a fan that Levine has one of those big games, like 30 plus points. I think they need to spread the ball out and just make up. The whole team has to make up, just in my opinion, of not having a point guard, and maybe, a little Pete Carril. I mean, Doug has to cook up something. I don't know what's going on with Sacramento these days. Everybody and their grandma from 2002 and 3 is coming back. You have Mike Bibby. All we need is Hito and Pollard to get some type of position. We'll bring everybody back.
I'm telling you, man, it's like this nostalgia tour, and it kind of goes throughout Vivek's entire ownership. It's kind of been his go-to, having those guys around and finding ways to utilize them.
Yeah.
So
one more thing.
Yeah.
With Bobby Jackson, I think he's one of the assistants for Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he will be the next head coach? In the NFL, you have a coaching tree. Like you had Bill Walsh's coaching tree. Is this what 2002 is? Like everybody's going to get their shot at some type of coaching position. I do think it's cool at the same time, but hopefully the Kings make the right decision as far as Christie.
Yeah. I want to be fair. I think Bobby would be more than qualified, but my stance kind of is this thing needs some fresh eyes. We need to get away from all of the eyes that were here during the glory days, or at least get away from them having power positions and decision-making positions, because I just think that team was so popular. That team was so special. That team set a different era and style of basketball that I think if that team doesn't play the way they do, the Golden State Warriors don't get formed the way that they formed. But everything evolves. Everything moves along. And if Sacramento is to get good again and get back to that level, it's not going to be because they rebuild the system like they had it back then. And I just think this tour of keeping these guys around, and you can't help but think that way if you're those guys, and it keeps the fans in that mindset too. I want to see somebody come in here with just a fresh set of eyes and build something new that can be just as good as what we had in 2002, 2003. It just doesn't have to be the same. They can be mutually exclusive.
That totally makes sense. I think you nailed that one. Chris Webber, he's not trying to coach anything, so maybe he has the right idea.
Oh, please.
Maybe he's just hanging out. Okay, well, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah,
I hope you like the
appreciate you.
beam. And go Kings, baby. Go Kings.
Appreciate you, Mike. What did you say last time? Was it Franken Brady?
Oh, yeah. I was Franken Brady, just
Dude.
throwing a football for my wife's fifth graders. So she plans it around Halloween. It's fun.
You're Cena Brady to me, man. You're a mix of John Cena and Tom Brady. So,
I'll take it. You got it.
Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for calling.
Right. Thanks, Rhino. Bye.
Be well. Good stuff from Mike. Good questions there. A lot going on. Kings, Blazers tonight. A lot to cover still in the chat. A lot to talk about in terms of some of the stuff that has come up. I want to go back to one point, and then we'll get back to the chat, and we'll mix in the chat here as well. I want to get back to this, and it's the Kings roster. It's what we're looking at. And to the point that who was the first one that called? Now I am forgetting who it was. Anyways, the question, it was Alex. Alex was saying, the fans won't accept certain things here in Sacramento. It's not going to be $6 tickets. This is a fan base that has been through hell and back. You've been in the valleys and you've been on top of the hills, right? Except not the very, very top. You didn't get the ring, but you've been close. You know what it takes, right? One consistent thing that rings true between all of the eras of good and bad Sacramento Kings basketball is hustle, effort, and just consistently bringing it. Whether you're bad or good, you bring it. If you're missing shots, doesn't matter. You're still bringing it. Think about some of the coaches or some of the teams that Jerry Reynolds coached. 0-43 on the road. Airball 1 is what the airplane was nicknamed. So what I'm saying is you have elements on this roster that you're looking at right now that fit that build. But I also think that you have elements on this roster that might be a nicer quality of diamond, might be closer to an 18 karat gold rather than a 14 karat gold. And I think it's important to keep those guys around with whatever you do, whether that's going to be in basketball purgatory, like we currently are. For those that don't know, that's where you're right around the play-in, but not good enough to do anything in the playoffs and get past the play-in. So with those pieces in mind, if the Kings did trade away a DeMar DeRozan, if the Kings did trade away a Domantas Sabonis, I still believe that even if it is a rebuild, let's say a rebuild that includes Valanciunas, Keegan Murray, Devin Carter, Jake LaRavia, and Keon Ellis. If you had those guys together, I am fairly confident based off the sample sizes of what they've done in their careers that this Sacramento fan base would still fully be behind this team. Even if they were not winning a lot of games, but they were bringing it every single night, I don't think it's a situation like New Orleans where it's $6 a ticket. And by the way, that's very well a core that I wouldn't even call necessarily. It's not a full rebuild. That's a soft rebuild if you keep those guys around. The problem becomes Zach LaVine. He's here. You're stuck with him. Fingers crossed he can stay on the court. That's the one thing that we're not giving him credit for. He's been able to stay on the court. I believe he's only missed one game since becoming a King. But you are going to have to make Zach LaVine the featured guard. But I think that you have got to, and this would be my thing. I know a lot of you guys think I am a Keegan Murray homer. You guys think I cut him too much slack. I need to see a year of Keegan Murray being featured. That's what I need to see. I need to see a year where Keegan Murray gets 15 to 17 shots a night. Because if he continues to develop at the rate that he has developed so far, and I know it's very easy to take the narrow vision look and say, dude's missing wide open threes. But if you look at his overall development, you look at the way that most coaches in the league talk about and value him, you look at how most coaches in the league, in their game plans, despite how Keegan Murray has shot the ball poorly, they still game plan him as a hot guy. I want to see something built somewhat more around him. Now, how do you incorporate that with Zach LaVine? I think you can do that. But you have also, has to be a true point guard. Now, here's the worry. You keep Sabonis in the mix, you're probably going to be in purgatory. Probably still in basketball purgatory. You're not changing much. I think you're still going to be too competitive. So if you're talking about a rebuild, there's a couple pieces you've got to retain. If you lose Keegan Murray, if you lose Keon Ellis, then you very much run the risk of having that product of basketball. And when I say lose those guys, I'm assuming that means DeMar DeRozan and Domantas Sabonis are gone as well. You very much run the risk of having that style of basketball that this fan base will not tolerate. Because we've seen it at times already this season. So it's an interesting proposition. I mean, again, not married to Sabonis. I love Sabonis. I love Domantas Sabonis. I love everything about him. I love his mindset. I love his durability. But if you're not going to use the guy right, what's the use of having him? Why are you going to go out and get the nicest set of Gordon Ramsay pans if you never cook at home? And without a true point guard, it's exactly what the Kings are doing. Exactly what they're doing. My man, Dennis, what's up today?
Yo, what's going on, Rhino?
What's up, brother?
Just over here in King's Purgatory with you, just hanging tight, seeing if if we can just lose a couple more games and gain our pick, or if we're just trying to limp into the play-in. So just riding it out with everybody. 10 more games.
Well, let's say they get into the play-in. Do you have any?
I would hate it.
But do you have any hope that they would be able to win 2 games?
With Doug's rotations and Doug's excuses and Doug not finding the right guys to play at the right time, and we're having these droughts still, but yet he's given us these word salads that there's too much talent on the team for them to be playing like this. Well, then it falls on you, Doug. Okay? It doesn't fall on anybody else but you. If there's so much talent on this team, we've all seen it. We've all seen this bench score 30 points a night some nights. And we've seen the starters almost, 4 or 5 every night, double digits. So what is it, Doug? I mean, what is it? Like, that's what it is. It's the head coach. And if you're not smart enough to adapt and put DeMar to the bench or tell him to stop shooting threes, tell Domas to stop shooting threes because he hasn't made a 3-pointer in over a month. If he can't see the things that
Hey,
as
Dennis,
a fan can see,
Dennis. Let's be fair. Dude's been hurt too.
I'm not saying he hasn't been hurt. Play to our strengths now. The last 10 games, he's not hit a 3-pointer. Play to our strengths. Like this, like what Grant said stuck with me. He said he's stubborn. He thinks he knows. And like what Grant said, like he thought he could help him by just calling Grant every day and saying, Grant, I'm here for you. Grant, I'm calling you 3 times a day. He thought in his head that's what needed to be done. And Grant said, no, that's not what needs to be done. And I feel that's his mindset now with that little bit of insight. I feel that he thinks he knows. And like when asked about the starters, hey, do you think Monk should be starter? Monk's the starter no matter what. Okay. But then as time grew on, though, like the last few games, Monk has actually, shown improvement. But it takes time. But my thing is, why not bring him off the bench until he finds that rhythm? Why not bring these guys off the bench until they, are at that peakness that they can take over their starting spot? Just throwing them back in there and saying we're going to stick with the results is not winning, Rhino. It's not winning basketball. The guy is going 0 for 4 every night at 3-point line, and you want to stick with that losing recipe? Well, that's what you get, Rhino. That's what you get. So that's where I'm at with that.
Really quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Jake LaRavia out tonight. That's actually important. Jake LaRavia out. You know why that's important? Doug Christie has barely played Trey Lyles the last couple of games. And I think you need a guy like LaRavia against Portland tonight to just kind of be that bull in a china shop. And he will not be available. It's a right thumb issue. So he is out of this one. Okay, so Dennis, really quick. I agree with you on almost every point that you said. I don't think, I know Doug Christie's, he's not an X's and O's guy. If he was, you'd see it right now in the product. It's not there. Okay. I can't speak to the rest of the coaching staff. Luke Laux left, and granted, it was his dream job. He was the defensive guy, running a defensive coordinator for the team this year. Jay Triano handles most of the offense. You got to think, like, if Jay Triano, if you're him and you get passed up when Mike Brown's fired, like, how does that not affect you? And I'm not saying I've heard anything that it has affected Jay, but how does it not affect you? Especially when you have a head coach who Doug is so quick to say, I'm the coach. I'm the coach. No, that's me. That's my decision. He says that in front of the media all the time when guys push back. Doug is not X's and O's. Doug's your hype guy. Doug
wants you to find your spirit and find a way to win a game. Like, what?
Doug is, and he's big into the holistic stuff. We all know that.
That's great. That's great.
Right? He's pimped that stuff out for years. But I guess what I'm saying is Doug is not, like, here's my question to all of you. He's clearly not willing to step on any toes to make this basketball team better.
And that's where I'm scared that because he's a rookie coach, there's too much talent on this team for him to coach. And that's my thing.
Well,
there's too much talent on this team to say, hey, DeMar, our bench is lacking consistency every night. You're our most consistent guy. You're a vet. I want to prolong your career. Let's take you off the bench. so I can get some consistency, and that way I can open up to my guys who can actually hit 3-pointers.
Sure,
and that's
but
my logic.
Sure, I hear you, Dennis, but here's the other side that I want to be fair to Doug at. The situation that the Kings are in with the personnel, I can't, it's high level. Like, Greg Popovich would be scratching his head at how to make this work with the players that are currently on this roster, how to make it work best. To Sabonis, really quick, shooting the threes. You've got to have him shooting at least a few of them a night, because it keeps the defense honest. You have to. If you don't do that, then the defense is going to be in the drop all the time, and it screws up the floor for the Kings offense. And that's assuming they're cutting. So I don't have a problem with a couple of threes from him. But what I would do, if you're talking about the DeRozan threes, I would be putting guys in different spots on the floor. In that swing spot where DeRozan always ends up either at the top of the key or free throw line extended beyond the 3-point line, and half the time his toe is on the line, I would have somebody else in that spot. I would have Keon Ellis in that spot. I would have Keegan Murray in that spot, because it's a better spot for them than it is DeMar. Now, DeMar's shot the 3 ball better than he has in his career.
Oh,
before,
yeah, this is probably his best season, hands down. But
But it's also the way the defense is playing him. They're saying, okay, shoot 3, DeMar. We're not really that scared of you from beyond the arc. So
we're not scared of that 34%. We're not.
Yeah, exactly right. So anyways, there's a lot of meat on that bone. We could criticize this all day. Doug, again, I take your best coach in the NBA and ask them to try to figure this out right now. And it would be it's climbing Mount Everest. So, and this talk about, I don't want to teach them a play. I want to teach them how to play. That's
a head scratcher.
That doesn't work when you are halfway through the season and then you have turnover on a team that hadn't had turnover in 2.5 years. So it's just, that's why it's all very just head scratching, confusing. The Zach LaVine stuff, the decision making. I mean, sit Zach's ass down if you need to. You have the talent.
Like I said, I think because he's a rookie coach, he doesn't want to step on toes. You can't tell DeMar to sit down and to spread out the offense more. You can't tell LaVine to sit down until he gets his confidence back. Like he can't do none of this. And it's like, okay, Doug, then what do we need you for then? Like, seriously.
Yeah. And Grant has said this many times. This is like Doug's audition. This is his maybe one of his only opportunities to show what he can do as a head coach in the NBA.
Only in the NBA, guaranteed. Unless Seattle pops up, guaranteed only spot for him.
And there's not a lot happening with it, unfortunately. So, hey, brother, I appreciate you. Love the effort. Love the energy. Be good.
Right, later.
All right. Good stuff from Dennis right there. We have got a lot to chat to, or a lot of the chat to catch up on. Again, if you're just joining us, Jake LaRavia is out tonight for the Kings. Malik Monk still a game time decision. Devin Carter will be available. Here was Keegan Murray after the game as we go through the chat and we start knocking out some of these points from the callers.
You guys, just what happened in the first half and then what was said to kind of spur in that third quarter for you?
Yeah, I think I feel like the attention to detail obviously wasn't there, and then their transition baskets and us not doing well on offense, I feel like affected us a little bit. So we turned around in the third quarter, but at that point it's too late. They're a really good team, and they're a team that's capable of just chipping away and getting the lead to 10, 20 points in a matter of seconds. So.
Keegan, Doug told us last night that he wants at least 10 threes from you every game. Tonight, you have 13, hit 9 of them. So how much is that something you have to be more aggressive, searching for that and trying to get more shots up?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough to try and figure out how to hunt threes in a way with this team so far. But I feel like over the last couple of weeks, I've kind of felt like a rhythm in a way. And obviously, Doug wants us to get up around 40, 45 threes a game. So I'll have to do my part in helping that.
You talked about, obviously, that's a really good team. Just after kind of completing the season series, what just impresses you most about what they do?
So, Paul, I go off of what he's done in the NBA. And Jerry, and I rely heavily. If Jerry Reynolds weighs in on something and he thought that it did work, or at least it worked enough to warrant trying it, then I'm going in all respect. I respect Baki. European basketball is different, though. Much, much different. World basketball is different. So I remain open to it based off of what what Jerry has said. I don't remember a lot of the times back in Indiana with Turner, but I do think there's an interesting, if you ran in to Oklahoma City, let's say the Kings win 2 play-in games and they get OKC in the first round. Your hand is almost going to be forced to do JV, Sabonis, and Keegan Murray on the front line at times. I think it will be. And maybe there's an argument that is the best front line lineup. But then comes in the backcourt. Okay, what do you do? DeRozan at the 2, Monk at the 1, Keon at the 1, DeRozan at the 2. The Levine question, that the Levine thing to me, I don't know if this organization feels like it's walking on eggshells to a degree with Zach LaVine, because Zach LaVine in the past has had issues with his coaches. I know he hugged up Billy Donovan before the Bulls game, but there was a period of time where those two were not speaking whatsoever. And DeMar DeRozan was the go-between, the middleman between the two of them. So I go with Jerry over Baki. Love you, though, Baki. Appreciate your microwave, too. Keegan Murray.
Just maybe a little bit thought on Shea and just the season he's had.
I think almost in a way they've matured, especially from they pretty much have the same team from my first year until now. So a lot of the guys mature. They've gotten better as a unit. And obviously he's playing at an MVP level, and they have guys around him that are playing at a high level too. So when you have that combination, they're a tough team to beat.
Keegan, there have been a handful of times just in this homestand that yourself, Jake, and Keon have been part of these pushes that start on the defensive end, getting the crowd involved. I'm just curious your opinion on just the three of you in that group on the floor and how effective you guys can be.
That's kind of our role. To try and figure out how to change the game in a defensive way, whether that's getting deflections, whether that's generating steals, leading to transition so that we can have transition points. And I feel like especially, you can add Devin in there too. He's done a really good job of kind of changing the game. So we just have to continue to affect the game on the defense end if we want to win.
Keegan, you talk.
Y'all. I did not want to have to go to this sound. This is your warning. The computer is freezing up. Hold on.
Dong, dong, dong. It.
Hopefully you can hear my voice right now as this computer works its way out. Damn, I hope I don't have to sub out my streaming computer. This thing's been doing so well. Can you guys hear me? Because I can't do anything with the screen right now. So hopefully you can hear me right now. Yes, Grant pays me, by the way. So thank you for the question, and thank you for wondering and saying I deserve it. Yeah, so a lot here to digest. This is going to be a busy offseason with 10 games left to go. And where the Kings go from here, how do you get consistency? No LaRavia tonight. Come on, computer. Come back to me. Buying some time. The Kings need to play at a much higher pace. No doubt about that. We're going to try the Control-Alt. There we go. We are back in business. We're back. Hopefully you did not lose me. Did you guys lose me for that period of time? Were we good? Yeah. Okay, you can't hear me. Okay, perfect. So you were with me there. You're looking at this. Always happens with Basketball Reference. I don't know why. You're looking at Portland and the Kings stats coming into tonight. What they do well, what they don't do well as we close up some of these videos. So that's probably what's killing me there. But all right. So anyways, back to this whole discussion about what you do, what you don't do. Zach LaVine, you got to worry about him. You got to keep him happy. But I just don't know. Doesn't mean Doug cannot sit him down once in a while. Doesn't mean that you can't coach him up. And I just need to see a little bit more. Seems like these guys are kind of doing what they want. Doesn't it feel like there's two different cliques to a degree on this team? Am I wrong in saying that? Am I? Does it feel cliquey to y'all on this team? I'm just curious. It's like you got the clique of the hustle dudes that can bring you back. You got the clique of the ISOs. It's just different. Nice, light the beam for a win or bringing the computer back. Man, I don't know why it does that sometimes. It's just started. And I have been so good, by the way, about when I bought the streaming computer. So just so y'all know, I'm not going to turn my camera around and show you the setup, but monitor here, 27-inch monitor here, that's hooked to this computer that's the streaming computer. 32-inch monitor here, which is hooked to the MacBook, which is my soundboard and stats stuff, whatever, right? And then I've got my soundboard right here, and we've got an iPad here. I made a point to make sure this streaming computer was only used for streaming. You ain't Googling stuff with it. You ain't doing anything with it. You only use it for our streaming software. And I let the wifey do some AI stuff on it. Sorry, sweetheart. Not blaming you, but it's kind of glitchy now all of a sudden. It's a problem with PCs. It's the problem with PCs these days. All right, we're going to get ready to wrap up here in a few minutes as we get you ready for this one. Some last minute questions. Sabonis is just a hard guy to build around. That's my point. That's my point about his contract. I mean, I think your best way to go, and this is like, we're looking at the Levines, we're looking at the DeMars, and it's like, you don't want to upset them. You don't want to disrespect them. Brother, I ain't got Skynet. Come on, man. You know I've got stuff better than Skynet. I've got a potato with an antenna in it. It works great. It's not the internet. And backup, I've got the AOL discs all set up. Did you not hear that? I've got my dial up right here.
Dong, dong, dong.
See? So we're good to go. Dong, dong, dong. It's one of the most, I tell Roby all the time. That's some of the best work Rome has ever done. The manual internet sound. I want to worry about the future of this team and not the present of this team, because the present of this team is more towards the downside of the mountain. Now, I respect DeMar. I respect Levine, but I want to make sure I'm keeping Keon Ellis happy. I want to make sure I'm keeping Keegan Murray happy, because if you are going to rebuild this summer, those are two pieces that you got to have. And Malik Monk's going to be fine. Malik Monk is going to be good, and he's under a good contract too. So A lot of stuff. But those are the guys that I am trying to keep happy. Keep the pick. Sorry, upset DeMar and Zach because it's not working. Well, look, they didn't decide. DeMar didn't decide to trade for Zach LaVine. DeMar also was not. Look, we want to do that show about De'Aaron Fox. We could if you wanted to, but look, it is what it is at this point. I think if you want to rebuild, you've got good pieces to rebuild, but it might not. Look, I don't know what it looks like. I'm going to reach out to Bobby Marks because when you buy guys out, there's an effect on the cap. I have no idea what it looks like. I don't think we're there yet either. But you could be there. Not this year. What is it? Let me go back to it really quick for you guys. His player option is coming up, I believe. So Zach's player option is not next year, but it's the year after. So you're going to have LaVine for another season. Now the question becomes, what would a buyout look like? Because you see that number in blue, that 48.9. LaVine, that's an opt-in. That's up to LaVine. LaVine can say, yep, I'm coming back. You think he's going to deny that? There is not another team in the NBA right now that would pay him $48.9, in my opinion. And who knows? You get a point guard in here, maybe it changes everything with Zach LaVine. That's why you've got to get a fresh set of eyes on this thing. No disrespect to Monty McNair. I said it earlier in the show. It starts with a point guard, and it starts with a system change. But I do think one thing, that no matter what you do, it's got to be based. You've got to have your Keon Ellis's, your Keegan Murray's that are going to bring that hustle, that consistency, the stuff that gets the fans and the arena the loudest every single night. The defense that turns into offense. LaRavia, is he part of that? Maybe. Who knows? Sabonis, major part of that. But you can't really get out of purgatory with Sabonis still on the roster. If you want to get out of purgatory, you're going to have Sabonis or LaVine off the roster, and we know which one is probably not going to be available. There you go. Malik is going to play tonight per Dennis, which I'm sure is per Underdog. So that's good stuff. Whatever's running through that locker room, not good. So let's reset this really quick for you as we get ready to get out the door before tonight. Kings, Blazers. Kings have lost 4 in a row coming into it. The Blazers most recently lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Both teams are rested. However, this is the Kings' their third game, in 4 nights. Adam Silver spoke to had a press conference today, and does not want to touch expanding in the NBA, but very passionate about starting another league overseas in collaboration with possibly FIBA that would be ran by the NBA. Stockton won last night. I was down there. Awesome time in Stockton. As always, got sat next to some other Kings personalities. Very nice catching up with them. I will not say them by name, but cool sitting with them for a few quarters. Mason Jones absolutely went off. So that was a good one. Watch for Stockton. They should probably be hosting a playoff game sometime early April. That's what they're anticipating. So if they host, make sure you go to Stockton, get down there. But for tonight, Kings, Blazers, the Blazers all time have 143 wins on the Kings, 89 For the Kings, the Blazers have won 2 meetings this season. The Kings have won 1 meeting. Here's my key. Like I said, I dug really deep for this. I stayed up all night trying to figure this one out. You ready? In the 2 games that the Blazers have won, they've shot the three-pointer at 35.1%. They have also averaged 38.5 threes. 38.5 threes in the 2 games that they have won. In the 1 game that the Kings won, the Blazers shot 18.2% from beyond the arc, and they only averaged 22 3-point attempts. Run the Blazers off the 3-point line. It's what you got to do tonight. There is nobody, by the way, we had this discussion one time when they played earlier this season. There is no big on the Blazers, especially Donovan Clingan, that the Kings should be doubling and going into the drop on. They did that last time in Portland, and Dinwiddie lit them up in the first half. So want to make sure that does not happen tonight. A couple of stats that have been put out there. Brendan Nunez, good job here on this. That's what the Kings have done in the last 10 games. Not very good. Not very good at all. But the Kings look to get back to only 1 game under 500 tonight and light the beam before they head out on the road for an East Coast trip. Keegan Murray, got to have a big game. Usually has a big game against Portland, playing against his brother Chris, who will be in uniform tonight. So a big night for them. Keon Ellis also, get him going. That's a key for me. Zach LaVine, what's going to show up? We'll see. Not so sure. And how about this? Trey Lyles, now that Jake LaRavia is out tonight, he will be back in the rotation. We were about to have a completely different conversation about why Trey Lyles has not been in the rotation, but he will most likely get some minutes tonight. So again, remember the 3-point numbers. 38.5 3-point attempts is the average for the 2 games that the Blazers have won, and they shot it at 35.1%. In the 1 game the Kings won, they shot it at 18.2%, and more importantly, only 22 times in that win. The Suns also play tonight, so we'll be watching the scoreboard. And let's go to that really quick as we wrap up the show, show you where the West stands coming into play tonight, because it is important. It is not a guaranteed thing that the Kings are going to make the play-in. The Suns have been playing really good basketball as of late. It's the Sacramento rub. It's the Sacramento karma. The Bulls started balling after beating the Kings. The Suns, the same thing, but the Kings hold a 1-game lead in the loss column. 1-game lead over the Suns. Suns and the Mavericks are tied in the loss column. The Kings have the tiebreaker with the Mavericks. So remember that as well. So that's it. It's Kings. It's Blazers. It's coming your way here in about an hour and a half. They'll be tipping it off. We've got full coverage of it for you. Do not forget, we will be back at halftime. Jerry Reynolds joins us. Always a pleasure to have Jerry with us. Hopefully, we are talking about a much better first half than we were last game. I'd love for you guys to get a beam before this team heads to the East to play Orlando on the 29th. And then post-game show tonight, Grant and I wrap it up, take your calls, and talk about what's next. I'm sure there will be more than enough to talk about before we get out the door. Let's check and see if there's any audio from Doug Christie from his press conference tonight. There actually it is. Here's Doug Christie.
My friend, how are you?
Good. You get Malik back tonight.
Yes.
Just how much does he mean to your team as far as one of the few true distributors you have?
Malik is like vitally important from a leadership standpoint. He is one of our leaders for sure. the energy that he brings, the playmaking, the ability to score on all three levels, the ability to play in the pocket with Domas. Like there's a lot of different aspects that Malik brings. So glad to have him back and super excited to see him on the floor.
Doug, first off, how do you feel about your Mariners this year?
You know, I mean, listen, what's wrong with you, man? I'm talking basketball, bro. Why you coming for me, man? I ain't even saying for you, bro.
Come on, Matt.
Yeah, go M's. That's right.
Come on, Matt.
Secondly, speaking of Malik and going back to Malik, you've talked about just the challenges you've faced with all the changes over the last few months. Malik has gone from off the bench to starter to primary point guard duties. How have you assessed just how he's handled all these changes and what he's trying to take on?
I mean, first and foremost, I think that he has been game for everything that's thrown in his way, and I think that's commendable first and foremost because the lead guard position in our league is very difficult, and to be thrown in there to try to change his game to help us in any way that he can is like super big time because there are a lot of players in our league that wouldn't do that. They would, you know, I'm comfortable where I'm at. You figure it out, and I'm gonna stay in my role. But for him, he was like, whatever you need from me, D, I got you. So I really appreciate that from him, and he said the same thing coming back tonight. So he's been a breath of fresh air ever since I met the kid. I love him, truly, I do.
I do.
Hey.
On the defensive end of the floor, how big of a difference does it make for a team when you've got like at least two like plus defenders out there at the same time? And for that reason,
no, you have lost your time to talk.
Does it kind of sit in your mind like what to do with Keegan now and whether maybe he needs to be out there somehow?
He will be. It's vitally important, I think. There are certain ways that we go about trying to manipulate it. And you see this with a lot of different teams. But the ability to, especially on the wings, like Keegan, both all-league defenders, in my opinion, write that down. Jake has been great. Devin has been great. Markel can defend. Like, there are times when you need an offensive team and you need a defensive team, and then you need a combination of both. And I think to your point, when you have two guys on the perimeter that can really guard and try to take.
I'm sorry. Did that make sense to anybody? That line right there is the epitome of the issue that this roster, of how this roster is being managed. You need to have an offensive team, a defensive team, and then a combination of both of them. Are we playing football? I thought this was basketball. Wait. Is this the King's Court? Or is this the Seahawks' nest? That was... Am I overreacting here? Yeah, do we need special teams now? Well, let me apologize in advance to all of you, because you will not be contributing any ideas to Grant's rants tonight. As soon as he hears that sound clip, that rant is now locked in stone. Did I hear that right?
Write that down. Jake has been great. Devin has been great. Markel can defend. Like, there are times when you need an offensive team and you need a defensive team, and then you need a combination of both. And I think to your point, when you have two guys on the perimeter that can really guard and try to take out one or two of their guys, or at least limit them,
Yo, that is the exact problem with this team. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be the sky is falling guy. That's not me. That is the exact problem with this team. Doug Christie just said the exact problem with this team. You have an offensive team that starts the game. That if they make shots, they stay level. They stay even with the opponent because they play no defense, except for Keegan Murray. Then your defensive team comes in, gets you up pace, gets you up tempo, makes things get a little bit muddy, right? You go into the half, either with a little lead or maybe down 5 or 6. Then you send the offense back out. And sometimes the offense excels like it did in the third quarter against the Thunder. Sometimes it doesn't. And then you send the defense back out and you go on another run. And then you send the offense back out, or a combination of the two, and the offense completely stalls out in the final 3 minutes. It's a Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan pick and roll. You might as well just have 2 players on the floor. If that is how Doug Christie is looking at this team, that's all you need to know. Give us the pick. Please, give us the pick. This team isn't going to have to tank. They're not going to win very many more games this year. I can't believe I heard that. I don't know that I have ever heard that from a basketball coach.
But the ability to, especially on the wings, like Keegan.
But does it kind of sit in your mind like what to do with Keegan now and whether maybe he needs to be out there somehow?
He will be. It's vitally important, I think. There are certain ways that we go about trying to manipulate it. And you see this with a lot of different teams. But the ability to, especially on the wings, like Keegan, both all-league defenders, in my opinion, write that down. Jake has been great. Devin has been great. Markel can defend. Like, there are times when you need an offensive team and you need a defensive team, and then you need a combination of both. And I think, to your point, when you have 2 guys on the perimeter that can really guard and try to take out 1 or 2 of their guys, or at least limit them, make it tough for them, I think it's a really good thing for us to have. It's something that we haven't had around here in a while.
Anything else? Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it.
You guys.
Wow. Did not expect to end the show on that note. Well, hey, look, he is an NBA head coach. I am not. He played in the NBA. I have not. So, look, I'm open to new ideas, but that's certainly a new one. Unbelievable. All right. Nonetheless, we are here tonight. So go Kings. Who's going to have a better game? The Kings offensive team, their defensive team, or their combination of both? Put it in the chat. I'm going to put that on. You know what? Do me a favor. Go to my X page here in a few minutes. I'm going to put that on my poll. I'm going to see what everybody has to say about that. But hey, I appreciate you very, very much for sticking with us here on this combination of the Kings Court and the pregame show. We are back at halftime with Jerry Reynolds. Looking forward to that. Grant will be here as well. We've got post-game tonight as well, and plenty to talk about after that. But nonetheless, Kings, Blazers need to get a win. light the beam, get one game closer to 500, and secure your spot in the top 10, at least through the night. We'll be watching the scoreboard as well. We'll see you at half. Thank you so much for being here. Go Kings, light the beam. Court is dismissed.